Today on Max Headspace 9mm, the MSMC, a recent development in future firearms. What it is, what it does, and what it means to those of us who love guns. If you've been a firearms enthusiast for any time at all, you've seen a lot of guns come and go. Most of the time they come with a big splash and end with a few ripples. It's pretty hard for a gun to be completely innovative and original. Well, recently a new firearm has been developed in the nation of India. It's called the MSMC, which stands for Modern Submachine Carbine. And it's making a big splash in Black Ops 2. Now, this firearm is not allowed to be sold to civilians anywhere, so it is only being used by India's military and police force. The only reason why anybody else would even know about it is because of Black Ops 2, where it's a featured firearm. Modern Submachine Carbine. Carbine, really? My understanding is a carbine is a smaller version of a larger rifle, a shortened barrel basically. If the MSMC is truly a carbine, then it would be a shortened version of this. This is the AK rifle that is fielded by India's military currently. They don't resemble each other very much at all in design or function. But I guess you can argue that you can call it whatever you want to. To me, I would say this is a subgun. It looks a lot like an Uzi or a MAC-10 with a grip-fed magazine. Definitely different than an AK, for example. But this AK rifle also shoots the 5.56 by 30 round, which is also the round that is shot by the MSMC. So it makes a lot of sense that they want to have both firearms shoot the same round. The rifle shooting for longer distances with a little bit more accuracy and capacity, and the subgun for tighter spaces, close quarters combat, vehicles, things like that. Now, if most of you are unfamiliar with India's firearm history, that's because there isn't much of one. Most of the firearms that they field today and have fielded for the last 100 years were purchased from firearms manufacturers in other countries. So this is kind of significant because it's the first truly Indian firearm made in their country for their own military and police force. So let's go back to when firearms were actually made in India and civilians were allowed to have them. Some of these things are really interesting looking. Some would say they're weird looking. I think they're very distinctive and beautiful. I've never seen any other nation that has rifles or pistols that look quite like these before. They're beautifully ornate, interestingly shaped. Some of these rifles, they're called Camel Guns. And they are designed for people riding on camels to be able to shoot from atop their beasts of burden. A lot of transportation happened on camels, and it takes a long time to dismount from a camel. So having a gun designed to fire from the back of a camel is an important consideration in India. That's why some of these look so unusual. I'm not really sure how in the world they get a cheek weld on some of these, but I like the way they look. They're interesting, and I wouldn't mind having one on display. So the MSMC has a 12-inch barrel. It has a 30-round standard capacity grip-fed magazine, a retractable buttstock, fully ambidextrous controls, including cocking handle. It has a rail on the top of the weapon so it can host a variety of different optics. The MSMC fires the 5.56 by 30 round, just like its big brother, the AK carbine. It fires this round at a speed of approximately 2,600 feet per second. It can penetrate light body armor, and out of this small, compact weapon, it is supposed to have a range of up to 300 meters. It has a full auto rate of fire of 800 rounds per minute. Okay, final analysis. Let's look at the most similar weapon I can think of to the MSMC and compare the two to see its viability. The most similar weapon I can come up with is the FN P90, which fires the 5.7 by 28 round. The ballistics of this round are extremely similar to the MSMC 5.56 by 30, and they are both designed to penetrate light body armor. They're both very compact, so let's compare the different attributes and see which one edges out the other. Weight, the P90 is the winner. It's slightly lighter than the MSMC. Length, P90 is about an inch shorter, with the MSMC's buttstock retracted. Range, the MSMC has a 2-inch longer barrel and it has a slightly longer effective range. Rate of fire, the P90 exceeds by 100 rounds per minute the full auto rate of fire of the MSMC. Muzzle velocity, the MSMC has a muzzle velocity about 200 feet per second faster than the P90, which is probably the reason why it has a longer range. And capacity, the P90 has a 50-round standard capacity magazine. Now here's where things get a little bit dicey, because the MSMC may have a standard capacity of 30 rounds now, but because of its grip-fed magazine well, very high capacity magazine could be developed for this firearm, maybe 100, 150 rounds or more, if they wanted such a thing. All it would have to be is a magazine developed for such a thing, like a Beta Mag. They both have a top rail for just about any optic you could possibly want. And at the end of the day, I think these are extremely similar weapons. I'm not sure that one is clearly the winner here. I think the P90 is a lighter weight, smaller weapon. It's simpler, a little more ergonomic, and the MSMC is a little bit greater range, a little bit higher velocity. There is a certain attractiveness to the nation of India for creating their own firearms and having pride of creating them in their nation for their nation. So I think that's the reason why they built it in the first place. If you play Black Ops 2, the MSMC is a good weapon. At the end of the day, it's the game designers who determine just how good it is compared with others. Game designers are really good at creating authentic electronic replicas of real world firearms, but they tweak them just slightly. For the purpose of the game and strategy, sometimes they will make the weapons slightly elevated or diminished for the purpose of gameplay. So I've never used this weapon in Black Ops 2. If it's anything like it is in the real world, it will handle extremely similar to the P90. Is there a reason for it to exist when the P90 already exists? Of course. So that India can have a weapon they made themselves, use themselves, and not have to buy the P90, which is made by FN Herstal, which is a very expensive company to buy weapons from. Alright, what's the takeaway? Well, the MSMC is a perfect example of what's happening in firearms development. Every firearms developer and designer wants to make a weapon that is more practical, useful, safe, and adaptable. The MSMC is one of the most of these that I've seen lately. And almost every firearm that's being developed now is fully ambidextrous. So, is the MSMC going to ever replace the AK-47? Absolutely not. It is a niche weapon designed for personal protection and light-duty police and military operations at close quarters. Is the MSMC ever going to be something that us American gun collectors and advocates will ever be able to play around with? Well, I'm not holding my breath. Actually, I could see this being an Indian-only firearm, but who knows? They may make a semi-auto civilian legal version of it someday that we can play around with. But until then, I'm just going to be content to playing with it on Black Ops 2. This is Max Headspace 9mm. Thanks for watching.